More potential jurors set to be questioned in moments in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Yesterday, 3 of the 12 jurors that will decide the fate of the former Minneapolis police officer were chosen.
Christiane Cordero joins us live this morning outside of the Hennepin County Government Center. Christiane, court got started around 8 o'clock this morning. A bunch of motions out there, mostly about what certain witnesses can say.
Right. There were a couple of motions that stood out in that they took a long time to get through, but it was one of them has to do with Donald Williamson. He is, if you have seen the video of George Floyd's death, then you would surely recognize him because he's very outspoken. He's wearing a hoodie that has a company, a brand of a mixed martial art company, a boxing gym, and he has 10 years plus experience in mixed martial arts, in wrestling. And so one of the things that the defense was really concerned about is that he would cross into the territory of talking about things that were medical, and he's not a medical expert. And so what the judge decided was that Don Williamson is welcome to discuss how he was and characterize how he was concerned for George Floyd's life, but he stops at saying that, you know, the certain moves were in fact what led to his death. Now, the other thing that they discussed was this doctrine in Minnesota that's called the spark of life, and it basically is when you bring in people to testify on behalf of somebody's character. Prosecutors said that the system by design is full of legalese, and therefore it kind of just refers to people as victims. It's easy to lose that human element, and so they wanted to put that human element back in. You can't cross-examine people who testify on behalf of somebody's character, and so in that sense, that is where Judge Cahill wanted to draw the line, and did draw the line, is that if they were to bring in somebody who, for example, said that George Floyd was a gentle giant, which is something that we've heard several times, right? Well, you can't then imply that he was nonviolent or that he was a peacemaker. That is where, you know, that would all allow for some kind of cross-examining, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And Christiane, we know there are some prior arrests and interaction with police that has been ruled inadmissible. But if you kind of bring in this, oh, he's a gentle giant, then it does allow the defense.
Got a lot of issues.
Yeah, we got you. I think we get the gist of it, Christiane. I know you're having a little trouble with your earpiece there. So we'll let you get back to work, and we'll see your report at noon. We do know that jury selection will continue despite the ongoing appeal to add a third-degree murder charge against Chauvin. State Court of Appeals has asked Judge Cahill to consider reinstating it. The defense team, Chauvin's defense team, has appealed that request to the Supreme Court here in Minnesota. Prosecution has asked for all of jury selection to be delayed. While the Supreme Court makes its decision, Judge Cahill said, no, we're going to keep going until one of these higher courts tells us to stop. A decision on the delay of that third-degree murder charge, well, it could come at any time.
So we were joined this morning by criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Joe Tamburino. Joe, thanks for being with us this morning. Before we get into the jury selection that we saw yesterday, that decision we just said could come at any time. Could it come today? We thought maybe yesterday, even the day before.
Yes, it could definitely come today. We did think it was going to happen yesterday, but it didn't. And the judge is proceeding ahead, like you said, until the Court of Appeals says stop.
Do we think the appeals court might have a difference of opinion here? Is that why this is holding up? There's a couple judges on that court, right?
Oh, yes. Well, what it would be is it usually is decided by a 3-judge panel. But think of it this way, too. I mean, sort of the train has left the station. We're in day 3 of this trial. Now, it's the jury selection part, but still the trial is starting. So I don't know what they're going to do today.
Right. How do you stop it in the middle?
During the discussion, Joe, this morning of some of these motions here, we did find out that the 3 other former officers involved in this case will not be testifying. Not a huge surprise here, but now we know for sure.
That's correct. Of course, they have Fifth Amendment rights not to testify, and their trials won't be until August. But here's the interesting thing. If they do not testify, which we know they're not, then their statements could be what's called hearsay, which puts into question the statements they gave to the BCA, their body-worn cameras. We're going to see some evidentiary arguments as the week goes on.
Joe, 3 jurors seated yesterday. I think a lot of people who very closely have followed the news and followed the details were a little surprised at how many of these potential jurors were aware of the case, but maybe one said they didn't see the video. There was not deep knowledge out there. Does this jive with your experience of high-profile cases?
Yes, sometimes it does, because we all think, well, everybody's attuned to the news, everybody's online, everybody's watching everything at all times. But for many people, that's not the case. They just go along with their daily business. Sometimes they might read a paper and sometimes they might look online, but they're more concerned about other activities. I think that's the minority of people, but they exist.
All right. Joe Tamburino, thanks so much, Joe. We'll check back in with you later on CBSN Minnesota.